First synthetic human embryo raises ethical questions, said the BBC headline. You think? Scientists have managed to grow a human embryo from stem cells rather than from an egg and sperm. The plan is to use the embryos for research. But don't worry, the BBC assured readers that, and I quote, nobody is currently suggesting growing them into a baby. Also, the BBC has a bridge to sell you. The reason no one is currently suggesting growing synthetic babies is that everybody is currently busy suggesting wombs should be transplanted into men. Doctors at Royal Hospital for Women in Sydney have just performed the nation's first uterus transplant operation involving a mother donating her uterus to her daughter who'd suffered an emergency hysterectomy after a major hemorrhage during childbirth. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... gynaecologist Professor Jason Abbott said the hospital had received interest in transplantation from women who had suffered medical issues such as cancer as well as other groups. Other groups? What other groups might be interested in women's spare parts? The Daily Telegraph reports, it may sound like science fiction, but top doctors at one of Sydney's biggest hospitals have raised the possibility of womb being transplanted into biological men. Gynecologists from the hospital say they are looking at transplants as an option for the transgender population who are assigned male at birth. Well, of course, without a womb transplant, where will the fetus gestate? In a box?
I want to have babies.
You want to have babies?
It's every man's right to have babies if he wants them.
But you can't have babies.
Don't you oppress me.
I'm not oppressing you, Stan. You haven't got a womb. Where's the fetus going to gestate? You're going to keep it in a box?
Now, in the 1970s, that was funny because of how unreal it was. In 2023, it's funny because of how real it's become. Rather than a womb transplant, may I suggest a brain transplant? Then Stan and his friends can regroup. But no progressive's going to progress. The big question is, progress to where? To a world in which men procure the leftovers from a woman's hysterectomy, which are then transplanted into them so they can have somewhere to gestate the fetus they've also procured? When Aldous Huxley penned the phrase Brave New World, he had no idea. The Sydney Telegraph reported that during an information video session held on May 30, the hospital's lead research doctor and gynaecologist, Dr. Rebecca Deans, was asked if the hospital planned to transplant a uterus into a trans woman. She said, and I quote, "We have no plans at this stage, but we're obviously not excluding that as a possibility in the future." Is there anything at all that scientists would not obviously exclude as a possibility? Would the man with the womb use his sperm to fertilise the donated egg placed within him? Would not that make him both the father and the mother of the baby? Would we exclude that? And what about an industry that encourages gender-confused girls to have their wombs surgically removed with the promise of becoming a man so that those same discarded wombs can then be recycled for men banking on becoming women? As the Daily Telegraph reported, a registered nurse who attended the session said she was concerned that gender dysphoric women were being encouraged to donate their uteruses for trans women to have babies. Again, I have to ask, is there any point at which our culture might be tempted to say, enough? Or is Victor Frankenstein now in charge? Women donating their wombs to gender-confused men? Men carrying their own babies to term? Synthetic embryos without father or mother? Scientists now operate by a single ethic. If it can be done, it will be done. Just ask the whiz kids in Wuhan.